with 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 so many receivers, you've got and Isaiah Alston coming in.
Yeah.
In that, what does that mean for the offense?
Well, I think we're excited. You know, Randy, I would say from a receiver standpoint, we've been here at times in our past. You know, I think, you know, you look back to 2017 when you had Akeem and Allen at the same time and Deshaunte Jones. You know, it allowed us to be a different offense in some different ways. And I think, you know, we were similar in 18 when Brock kind of took over and you still had Akeem and you had Matt Eaton on the outside. And so, you know, I feel like we've probably been our most complete offensively when we've had that receiving core to match a strong running game. And, you know, I felt like, you know, we kind of lost our way a little bit, you know, and then I think we've really worked hard to kind of get ourselves back to where we want to be from a receiving standpoint over the last year and a half to 2 years. And so I'm really excited about obviously what that group has the ability to look like. You know, you've got, I think, what the last 7 games of, you know, what Jaden Higgins did, quite honestly, last year. I think the complete package of what Jalen Knoll did last year, and then, you know, to see the excitement of even Benny's last game. You saw flashes of what we feel internally that guy has the ability to be. You had Isaiah into the picture. Daniel Jackson's back and really, you know, showed flashes of excellence last year. We're excited about that group, and I think the more you can be explosive and dynamic at the receiver position, the more you certainly force people to defend the whole field, and I think this group certainly gives us that opportunity to do that.
Coach Taylor's been on the new job in his role for a little bit of time now. What gave you the confidence in kind of passing the reins off to him, and what have you noticed so far in maybe building that confidence that he can take this offense even to new levels?
Well, you know, Taylor's been with us for a long time, and, you know, I think he's a guy that just has grown, you know, internally, and every job that we've given him, he has just been exceptional in the role. And, you know, even over the course, I would say over the last 3 years, has just taken a huge role in play calling, taken a huge role in developing the game plan, and, you know, obviously has done just a great job with his own position group. You look at what the production of the tight end group since he's taken over there over the last 5 years. So I think anytime you've got a rising star within your ranks, you love to give those coaches more. And Nate, you saw that happen with Nate, and, you know, I think you're seeing the same thing happen with Taylor right now. And so it was a pretty easy decision, you know, when we got to that point. And you know, I think a lot of the things offensively that we were able to do a year ago is kind of reestablish who we want to be, kind of reunify what we wanted to look like and feel like. And I think Taylor was a huge part of that, and to be able to pass the reins on to him, I think a lot of excitement for all of us. So great continuity into what we want to do, and also I think just having the ability to put his own spin on things as well. And, you know, I think, again, you look at the unity of our entire staff. You know, you bring on Tyler Roll, too, another guy that's been a play caller before, been a guy that's designed offensive football, a lot of similarities to how we want to play offensive football. And then a guy to coach the running back position that's played running back, that's been in that. I think that's the one unique thing offensively right now. You look at every position coach, they've actually played that position. And so I think that's been huge for us as well, and been great developers of those individual position groups as well. So those are I think what really led us to get there, and really excited about what that group's got the ability to look like right now for us.
Matt, I know you frequently talk about how the greatest part of the job for you is watching and helping young men develop into men, people. You've kind of had that role with Taylor. He talked about started with stuff in envelopes, and you know, then he's adding some input here and there and leading position groups, and now the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
How much pride do you take, and how happy are you for him to see that development over whatever 11 years?
Yeah, you know, I think part of it is even just personally for myself. You know, it's interesting. We were at Brock's wedding a week ago, and you're looking around and you're seeing so many of our coaches and players back that, you know, either have gone on and are doing great things, are within our own program that have developed to do great things. And I think you feel like, number one, you're getting older, and number two, you appreciate the success of the people that are around you, and whether they're players or coaches. And for Taylor, he's a guy that, similar to Nate. I mean, Nate had no experience coming to us, and literally started from the ground up and kind of, worked his way. Tom Manning was really similar in the same, if you look at his lineage and how he came to us and obviously what he's doing now, and then you look at Taylor, very similar. And I think guys that have really started at the ground up, worked really hard, and have earned every opportunity. And, I love that about our program. I felt like that's always been really important. Not that it's always great to bring people from the outside in, give you a new perspective and ideas. And I think that did help us immensely a year ago. But I also think that, having the ability to have great leadership with guys that have done it from the ground up with you, I think it means a lot. And I think it also, allows the culture to continue to really strengthen around you. And so we're fortunate, and I'm really proud of Taylor, what he's accomplished so far.
Heading into fall camp this past year, you guys had one of the youngest teams in the nation. Now you guys still a young group, but at least have a year of experience on the field. How does that kind of impact the process of this offseason?
Well, I just coming back in January, there was just such an energy in this building, to be honest with you. And I think that it's probably one of the things I haven't felt in a long time. I think there's a confidence of what we can do. I think a belief in who we've got the ability to be, because there's videotape evidence of it now. And yet also there was a humility of, geez, there's some areas that we got to grow, and there's videotape evidence of that still out there. And, what's been really fun is the humility and character of this group the last 8 weeks to go to work. And, it's been a really productive time for us because, again, our youth, man, we still need all strength and conditioning. We need bigger, faster, stronger. You're in such a great time right now where you can actually see transformation happening. Sometimes when you get so old, it's hard to see the visual transformation, where right now, we're such a young team that you can still see the physical transformation happening. And so I just think there's a lot of excitement around our group right now. I think there's a lot of energy and a lot of confidence that's been built because there's equity in what they've done, and yet also enough humility and character that even what they did still isn't good enough to where we want to be and who we want to become. But I think there's a great confidence of what we've got the ability to do. So I think that's how I'd answer that. So great question.
How have you seen Coach Mauser continue to build a relationship with Rocco since his promotion to the offensive coordinating position?
Yeah, I don't even think it's just Rocco. I think to me that's one of the things that probably made Mouse such a great choice for us, is his ability to relate to all of our players. And I think when you're the offensive coordinator, you go from being the lieutenant to the general, and the general, you have to have this unique impact that it's not just leading players anymore or your position group, it's leading everybody around you, and that's your position coaches as well as all the players. And I think the respect that Coach Mauser's got from our players and our coaches was really strong, and has been really strong. So I think that's one of his greatest traits and qualities, is he's a unifier, and he's got the ability to bring people together around him, and he's done a great job of that.
You've spoken about the excitement of adding new ideas with him as your offensive coordinator, but also welcoming continuity at the same time with him being promoted. With returning so many people, what's the importance of both of those things on the offensive side of the ball, where we know we're good at what we've been doing, but now we can kind of expand on it with some new ideas?
Yeah, I think that's a fine balance. I think you want to, we are still young enough where you want to continue to grow in what you did well a year ago. And, Randy asked a great question at the beginning. You're a different team this year. And, even some of your strengths will be maybe a little bit either stronger or different than you were a year ago. And, everybody will be on me. I said this, but it is still about players, formations, plays. Who are those players? And then, man, how do we do a great job of getting our best players the ball in the best situations we possibly can? And, I think that changes every year. And I think we've got to have the ability to adapt to that. And so I think the great thing is we've pretty much been through every cycle of offense that you can play. And, I think we know how to play to our strengths when we need to. And I think just doing a really great job of teaching the foundation through the spring, and then figuring out exactly who are we by the end of spring ball, and then making making sure in the summer and certainly as we get into fall camp to make sure we're putting precision to, our scheme, especially situationally, to make sure we're doing everything we can to capitalize our strengths.
Coach, when did you, I guess, first realize Taylor's potential to turn into something and make it to a position where he is today? And then also, what's it like having a hockey guy help run your offense?
Yeah, we'll go with the first question. I think for Miles, one of the things early on, and I remember even at Toledo, we had a great slot receiver there, a young man named Corey Jones, and Taylor's job after his first year was kind of be a great mentor to Corey. And I think if you looked at Corey's our last season at Toledo, the success Corey had, probably one of the best slot receivers in the country that year, and had a huge year for us. And you watched Taylor's mentorship on and off the field with him, and you just knew that there was really something special about Coach Miles. And you come here, and I think if you would ask guys like Allen and Akeem and Marchie who had the most profound impact on their success, they would probably tell you Coach Mouser, and then you put them with the tight end room. And I think you'd ask the same thing to Charlie and Chase. They would tell you Coach Mouser. And so, again, to me, you got to be able to lead people first, and you got to be able to be great developers of that talent. And he certainly showed the ability to do that in a great way. And again, now you got to be able to lead the whole organization, and I think he'll do a great job of that too, because he's got great humility. So, and I think his hockey background, I think just growing up, to be quite honest with you, in a locker room, I think that's where our similarities come into play. He sat there and watched his, in a locker room and watched his dad, be a general manager and put teams together, and sat in the locker room and did everything from washing the clothes to filling up the Gatorade cups to, my greatest memories growing up are the same thing. And you watch how special it is just to be involved in a locker room and be a part of it. I think, the great thing about Miles is still grateful to walk in here every day. You're still like, geez, you get a free pair of shoes and you get a free sweatshirt, and you're able to coach football and be around kids that want to be successful. You're grateful for those opportunities. So I think sometimes growing up like that, you're certainly appreciative of what we get to do.
Ask you this going into every spring, but
who do I like? I knew you were going to ask.
Yep, you don't start till Thursday, but what are the reviews from the strength and conditioning staff? Who are you really liking from January?
Yeah, I would just say, and again, it's probably hard to single out anybody. It's been a really good group. I will, if I'm going to single out some guys, I think our transfer guys early on have been really impressive. Sometimes you don't know. Dylan Barrett, Dylan Barrett came in and totally has revamped his body. I don't know, how much information our staff's giving you, but you're talking 12 pounds of physical strength, of true lean body mass put on, 9 pounds of body fat taken off, a guy that's 335 pounds and looks the part, really impressive of how he's moved around. Jalen Jackson's been really impressive, a guy that can really, really run, was a 10-600 guy. Last guy that we had that could run like that was Kane, and, certainly was a great weapon for us in terms of, ball in hand, what he can do. He's a guy that's returned 7 kickoffs in his career, so gives you some flexibility early on. Has been really impressive, just his energy, what he's brought to the table. And then I would say Isaiah Alston's been super impressive. Big, long, physical body, would remind you a lot of like Matt Eaton, kind of reminds you of Jalen and Jaden in some ways, just with great physical traits that can really do some things. So again, until those guys put pads on, we'll see. But those guys have been certainly really impressive for us early on. And then the freshman class, just in general, I think just maturity. To me, I'm always impressed when a young man comes in at 17, 18 years old. They should be back at home, and they're here and they're competing in winter conditioning, and they go through hard. And really the last 3 weeks of the winter for us are really hard, really challenging. And I thought those guys really all collectively did a great job. So I'm excited to see who they are once we get to practice. Kennard Snyder would be the other guy that I'd be remiss not to talk about. I think he's been uber impressive. You talk about physical traits, would remind reminds you a lot of Jaquan Bailey, man, just a physical, traits that are really been exceptional through the early part of it. So again, I think really excited about what he brings to the table because, that young D-line, I think adds just another collection of a guy that we feel like can get to the quarterback and be a guy that's certainly got really impressive first couple steps so far. So it'll be fun to see him in spring ball.
And then just some housekeeping things. How are you injury-wise? Any surgeries? Any guys that are going to be limited or out? Just can you give us the rundown there?
Yeah, when I think about that, Cale Brazina came in and Cale wrestled right after the state championship game. Impressive kid, obviously graduated early, but went right into wrestling, wrestled the first 3 matches, won his 4th match, had a shoulder injury. So he just got cleaned up, probably will be out through the spring, but we'll get him, back full go in May. Other than that, I'm trying to think, unless you guys have somebody, there's, wholeheartedly, I think everybody else, we've been in a great spot. For some guys like Jeremiah Cooper hasn't gotten an off season here. This is his first off season, full strength. Malik Verdone missed the bowl game, but certainly his back and he's at full strength. We'll have him through spring ball. We're probably in the best shape we've been in, in an off season where we're really fortunate we didn't have off-season surgeries that really hampered us. Dalen Hazard, Dalen, got injured right at the 2nd or 3rd week of fall camp, was probably as good as anybody in fall camp. He's coming off of the Achilles injury. Hopefully, we think we'll get him limited back for spring practice, but excited that what he's done already looks great, is really been out, be able to, at a limited basis, been able to be out with us. So, we're pretty excited about where we're at there.
When you look at the offensive staff, you seem, from an outsider's perspective, to have provided Taylor with a lot of support with a run game coordinator, a pass game coordinator. Can you explain if that was by design or what you're thinking of doing those things was for this upcoming spring and obviously fall?
Yeah, I just think, to me, you saw just the impact that Ryan Clanton and Noah Pauley had on our program a year ago. I mean, I think both of those guys are great talents. I think those guys have made a huge impact in a short amount of time, both as position coaches and certainly schematically what they brought to the table. And so, I would have been remiss not to reward those guys and certainly the impact that they have made. So, again, I really love where our offensive staff is right now. I think it's as tight-knit and is really aligned as what we've had. So I'm excited about what that group looks like, and I think those guys provide great leadership opportunities as well as Coach Roll. I think Tyler just in a short amount of time has made a great impact. Sharp, dynamic. I think we'll have a huge impact on our offense and certainly an impact on that running back room.
And how does that group work together in the spring, and what's the importance of that time with them working together in the spring?
Yeah, well, there's really only one new piece, I think in Tyler, and I think you bring a guy that, again, has got a lot of experience working with Coach Pauley in that room. So, I think it's just continued growth and development, but I think, that group has really hit the ground running, and you can tell it's already a really unified group for us.
Matt, you've talked before about how expectations are always high within the program. Well, this season they're going to be high outside the program.
Yeah.
Is that something you address with your team?
Well, I just think you got that unique ability, and again, I've always said about Iowa State, especially Iowa State football, man, we've almost had to go through everything, and we've had to learn sometimes and learn the hard way. But, we've been here before, which is exciting, and we've been here and had success, and we've probably been here and had failure. And so I think even just for me and our coaching staff to be able to understand what that looks like, what this process has got to look like, and maybe how it's got to be different from when we didn't have the success we wanted to have, and maybe how it looked when we had the success we needed to have. But I think probably more than anything for us, it allows us the right roadmap to help our team continue to develop to be its best and the best it's got the ability to be.
Are you back to divvying up special teams responsibilities within the staff?
Yeah.
What led you back to
In
that?
some ways, I think really that didn't change last year very much. A lot of that process still kind of. I think one of the things that was positive for me a year ago is really able to take a really good role within special teams, even myself. And I think that really helped. I think Rob Grandy staying on, Rob has been an integral role for us in terms of off the field as an analyst. And so I just feel like from our standpoint, we've got a great pathway for what success looks like. I thought we made great strides a year ago. I think we've got the ability on special teams, and I think we'll have to continue to be a great team on special teams. But, you look at what's coming back to us in the returner game, both from Jalen coming back and the success he has had. Certainly adding a piece of that with a dynamic kick returner. Really excited about this place kicker competition. Again, I think we felt like a year ago, through the midway point of the season, this Kyle Conradi had really come on. We add a couple pieces to come in and compete. I think that's going to be a great competition at the place kicking piece of it. And then you talk about your short snappers back, your long snappers back, a lot of guys that have played a lot of critical roles for us on special teams. And again, schematically, we really haven't changed much over the years. I think it's continuing to find a great way to put ourselves in the best position to use our playmakers, at those critical roles, and we'll have to do a great job of that.
We talked a lot last year that you liked having Nate in place for spring, that he could, as a play caller, kind of figure that out. Do you run that back with Taylor?
Yeah, I think you do. And I think the equal part of that is this team. I think this team, we're still young enough, and there's still so much competition. I think it's twofold. I think it is great for Taylor, and I think his ability to grow and, continue to help him grow and that offensive staff grow, and, in even the uniqueness on our defensive staff. I think you had Colby comes back, and, man, he's a new voice, but I think a critical piece to our success on that side. And so you allow that to start to grow together, but I think equally the competition in spring. We got to get out and go and compete. And, I think one of the things that's fun about this group, and probably some of the mistakes you've maybe made in the past, is you lack competition at times. And I think we have to do a great job of that as we get into spring ball. And, man, how do you grow from where you were to where you've got the ability to be? And football's a funny game because, again, I know I've said this a lot. Our sport, man, you don't get to go play 5-on-5. You don't get to go wrestle off for your spot. Like, man, you got to create great competitive practices to get better at the sport so you're ready for your 12 opportunities when they come your way. And these next 15 will not only help our coaches, but I think it's got a chance to really help our players too. And a lot of competition. I think that's the thing that if we're going to be a great team, we got to have the ability to have depth across the board. And we certainly think there's a great foundation of that, but how they develop here in the next 15 practices will be critical to our success.